This is Optimal Health Daily, episode 229, To Resemble a Goddess by JCD of JCDFitness.com. And I'm your host and personal narrator, Dr. Neil. Happy first day of June. Welcome back to another episode of Optimal Health Daily, the podcast where I read blogs to you, just like an audiobook every weekday. And if you didn't know, this is one of 5 podcasts where we read blogs to you. There's Optimal Living Daily, where my brother reads to you posts about personal development. Optimal Finance Daily, which has some great tips to get out of debt and make more money. We have Optimal Startup Daily for entrepreneurs, freelancers, and managers. And our newest, Optimal Living Daily Relationships, covering all things relationships. So definitely check those podcasts out and show them support if you like the format of this show. And now let's hear this post from JC as we optimize your life. To Resemble a Goddess by JCD of JCDFitness.com. To begin, this is my review of a popular fitness book, The New Rules of Lifting for Women by Lou Schuler, with Cassandra Forsythe and workouts provided by Alwyn Cosgrove. I am a fan of Lou Schuler and really love his writing in general, whether or not if it's about fitness. The book is chock full of good information, and I cannot recommend it enough. I picked it up as a reference for helping women who are interested in strength training, and I wanted to have a source I could point them to for further study. I've always believed that women should train like their counterparts, so I believe this book is a must-read for all women interested in the fitness and strength training lifestyle. The book is comprised of 3 parts, and here are my thoughts. Part 1. Behind the cover lines. In the beginning, God created barbells and people. He said, "Lift them, and you will grow to be strong and beautiful." So why do I only see the guys lifting heavy stuff while the girls zip away for hours on the treadmill? Lou opens up to talk about just why a woman should lift like a man. JC actually covered this same topic in an article he wrote a few weeks ago titled, "You Don't Need to Be an Oxygen Model to Have a Body Like One." In the second chapter, The Truth About Your Muscles, Lou explains that men and women share the same exact muscle and fiber types. Anatomically, we are identical when looking at musculoskeletal makeup, but vastly different regarding hormonal profiles. The difference in hormone levels is exactly why a woman can train properly for as long as a male and never make the same amount of muscle mass gains. The testosterone that would make them huge and jacked just isn't floating around in a woman's bloodstream. Females can still build a beautiful physique with nothing but strength training. Just look at the lovely ladies in Oxygen magazine. They're surely doing something right, and I am positive that a sound strength program makes up a large part of their routine. By the time I hit the 3rd chapter, I knew this was going to be a really good and practical read. I'm glad Lou got this pertinent issue out of the way early on. Step away from the treadmill. He goes on to explain how lots of cardio is just not a necessity when it comes to losing fat. Of course, cardio does play a role in creating a deficit sometimes, but it's definitely not the one and only way to do it. I also like the idea of cutting cardio to a minimum, because it allows for optimal recovery between training sessions. It's all a matter of your goals anyhow. I could keep going, but then you wouldn't have a reason to buy the book. Part 2. You aren't what you don't eat. The 4th and 5th chapters cover the common dilemmas most women face when trying to build their ideal physique. The 2 main points Lou touches on are low-calorie diets and the twisted fear of carbohydrates many in the fitness community have adopted. Many women believe that in order to keep the body fat off, they must train a lot and eat very little. This will work, and it will work very well for keeping the fat gain at bay, but it will not serve them one bit in their quest to resemble a goddess. Also worth noting, Lou and Cassandra emphasize the importance of having a balanced diet. Balance meaning micronutrient structure. Nowadays, too many are missing the forest for the trees. We all tend to get caught up in the latest and greatest diet. One day it's no carbs, the next day it's no fat, the next week it's a bananas-only diet. I was pleased to see they are not spouting off some of the boring old dogmas that have a 3-day shelf life. Follow the guidelines in the book, keep your diet balanced in terms of macros, and the rest will fall into place. The 5th and 6th chapters touch on keeping things simple whilst following the nutritional guidelines. There are also some meal plans as well, which is always nice for variety. While I do not agree with some of the ideas about meal frequency, I feel that the information presented is very good nonetheless. I really like the way they explain the difference in macros and why they are important. Cassandra presents the importance of fish oil, mono and polyunsaturated and saturated fat, unprocessed carbs, protein, and lastly, alcohol. The chapters on nutrition are easy to understand and, more importantly, easy to apply to your busy lifestyle. Part 3. Resistance is vital. Of course, this is my favorite part. Take a lady, get her doing squats, deadlifts, presses, and rows, and you create a walking Mona Lisa. The 8th chapter explains in brief that women have been doing some really silly things in the weight room, and then suggests what they should be doing, like training like a man. The rest of the book focuses on the programming, routines, and different workout stages as one progresses. I was pleased to read that the full body workouts were being advocated with a full day's rest in between each bout of training. The exercise selection and pictorial examples are awesome, to say the least, and it's always useful to have a reference for what a movement is supposed to look like. So what do I think? I think the book is a must-read for any female wanting to get into strength training. The book is also very good for learning the basics of what works and what doesn't, considering all of the bad information floating around these days. You just listened to the post titled, To Resemble a Goddess by JC Deen of JCDFitness.com. And when you go looking for a resource, whether it's a fitness resource or nutrition, stress management, you name it, one of the things I recommend is you look at the person or the author's credentials. Make sure that they have some advanced degree in that specific field. So let's say you're going to buy a fitness book, a book all about fitness. Ideally, make sure that the author has like a master's of science degree in kinesiology, the study of movement, for example. Now, I will admit, this doesn't always guarantee you're going to get sound advice, and this is where your common sense will be very, very important. But hopefully, it'll mean that they're not basing all of their data on anecdotal evidence, that there's some real science and real truth behind what they're saying. Now, if the resource that you found is trying to sell you other products, be very careful. This means that they're probably going to pick and choose, what we call cherry pick, the data out there. They'll only pick those research articles that actually agree with their particular platform, with what they're trying to convince you of. And that means they'll potentially ignore all of the other research that's out there, proving them wrong. And with your resources, if you encounter something that just doesn't sound right, that sounds counterintuitive, you can always do a general Google Scholar search, which is a great resource. It's free, scholar.google.com. I use it all the time. And that way you can look for yourself and see what other studies are out there. Or, of course, you can always ask me during my Friday Q&A. And speaking of which, tomorrow's our Friday Q&A show, so definitely come back and listen to that. And if you like the format of this show, check out Optimal Living Daily to learn more about habit building, minimalism, mindfulness, productivity, and lots more. That's hosted by my brother. Then we have Optimal Finance Daily to learn more about personal money management in non-technical terms. And then we have Optimal Startup Daily for all things entrepreneurship and business. And finally, Optimal Living Daily Relationships for some great dating, marriage, and parenting advice. Subscribing to those shows helps this one too. It's a great way to show your support. All right, that'll do it for Thursday's episode. Thank you as always for listening. Thank you for being a subscriber of the show. I'll be answering one of your questions in the Friday Q&A episode tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this show and Optimal Living Daily, the brother podcast of this one. Literally, I'm Dr. Neil's brother. If you like the format of this show, you'll love Optimal Living Daily too, where I also read to you from blogs, but cover other topics like personal development, finance, and minimalism from bloggers like Derek Sivers, The Minimalists, Zen Habits, and many more. So for more amazing content read to you for free, come subscribe to Optimal Living Daily too, and together we'll optimize your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Health Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.